I'm Jeff Skaversky here with the one and only Eagles legend and Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins. B-Doc, over the years, you have been no stranger to talking about your own mental health issues. You continue to help others. Has this last year been more important than ever to help people dealing with mental health issues?
Because of the circumstances, I would say yes. Had the circumstances not happened, I still think that it's something that we need to talk about and not just talk about. I think one of the things that have come from 2020 is that we've gone from just talking about things to actually doing things. And people are moving and actually making the phone calls or calling other individuals to make sure everything is well with them. And so, because of that, because of 2020, I think that is what happened. That is what's happened, and that's a good thing.
You've been talking to students at Philadelphia area schools as well as schools in Jacksonville. What has your message been to high school students that maybe are struggling, whether it was not being able to go to school, then going back to school, readjusting, or difficult circumstances going on with the pandemic, or just everyday life?
Well, one of my main speaking points to anybody, and I'll include young adults in this, is control the controllable. Like certain things that we can't control in this life. And then for the things that you can control, and that's our area of control, is what I call it. It's my attitude, my responses, my effort, and my attitude. Or did I say attitude already? Did I say attitude?
Yeah.
So my actions, excuse me. The last one is actions. So those are the things that we can control. And anything outside of that, pray about, get help in it. But for those things, make sure that you're taking care of those things. And a lot of those things have to do with self. It has to do with looking into yourself, see what's going on with yourself. And if there's something that's going on in you that you don't recognize, or it's not something that's allowing you to be the best version of yourself, and if you can't handle it, then reach out. Make sure you have someone around you, and we all do have at least one person around us that we can talk to. And if you don't have that individual, make a phone call so that you can get some of those things out of you so that you can be productive, more productive, and actually be a better version of yourself.
Do you think that message is getting across as you do talk to students in Philadelphia as well as Jacksonville?
Yes, and see, it will more so as this thing kind of lifts and we can do more things with the students, because obviously I couldn't go there to do any in person
Yeah,
appearances.
but your presence, whether it's Zoom or
Yeah.
virtual, anyway, virtually, still can
But
get that message across. I mean, you're a passionate guy. People will get that message.
yeah, and that's the point of it. Obviously, we can do these things by Zoom, but even in 2020, before we got, we were talking about this a little bit beforehand. We become professionals at Zoom, right? So, 2020, we weren't professionals, so it was a lot of things. There was still flux of how to do it and what's the best ways to do it. So now we're better at that. I can have more opportunities to talk to bigger groups of classes or even auditoriums of kids to really begin to allow them to truly understand the significance of their mental health and how important it is to make that an important part of your daily routine to make sure that that's healthy.
Is there one common aspect that you find students have been dealing with, kids in Philadelphia are dealing with over the last year with the pandemic, that you have spoken on maybe more so than you would normally? Is there one topic that really has kind of been hitting home really with these kids?
No, I think it's just the separation from friends, the true separation from in person and being in place, especially in 2020, that you couldn't. We were obviously in home and quarantined, and so that in itself, studies have shown, is not a healthy situation for people to be in. One of the worst places we can be is in solitary confinement. And so when you're then put in positions that you can't be around your friends and that community, that the oxytocin that's released when you're around and hug a friend of yours, those are things that we all crave. And so when you don't have that, for especially for young adults, it's hard for young adults to truly understand that these things won't last forever, right? That this is just a moment in time, that we have all faced this thing together, but it's not something that will last forever. But in that moment, you need things that you can do in that moment. And these are the coping mechanisms that are in the course to help you and help anybody else be able to deal with life's ups and downs, and even being separated from someone you love, handle those things better.
How in depth would you go sharing your own personal story and what you went through and how your wife helped save you?
I mean, I've shared it. I've
But
shared it
if you
on.
shared it with the students, like how
Well,
far?
it's a different conversation. A lot of times when I'm on calls with students, because they ask me different questions, because that's what I like to answer questions.
Okay.
I like to leave things out for students to ask me, or teachers, so that I can elaborate on some of the things that I've learned in my life through my gaining wisdom from doing stupid things and recovering from different things, or learning from different events, or things that I've read, or courses that I've taken to better understand the human psychology, so to speak. And so I can then talk from that place. But I don't hide the fact that those things have happened. I'm no longer embarrassed of that. That's something that I've gone through in my life, and not just gone through. It's something that I've grown through. And that's the thing that I'm constantly speaking to everybody, that you can grow through any and all obstacles or any and all situations that come in our lives.
You've obviously been open and talked about your experiences, what you've been through, and some of the demons you've had to battle. How has it been for you the last year? I mean, has it been difficult mentally for you over the last year dealing with everything you've dealt with in your personal life, just your everyday life, just even being isolated, quarantining, the pandemic, and being away from, I would imagine, some family and some friends?
Yeah, obviously there's parts of it that's going to be tough for all of us, right? I mean, we all had to have had some type of discomfort or sense of loss going through that, right? But I'll tell you this: when the pandemic first started, I intentionally, in my prayer time, meditation time, thought about and prayed about, okay, so how am I going to spend this extra time? What am I going to be doing? And what I decided was to grow. I decided to take some courses. I decided to do more in even studying the Word of God and meditating in that, because I had more time. And so I did not want to just sit around and watch TV and do social media. No, I wanted to do something that can utilize that time to then actually allow me to be better when all of this is said and done. So that I was very intentional with my time, is what I'm saying. So that area of control, my attitude, my reactions, my effort, and my actions, I was very intentional about how I utilized those things, how I studied, the effort that I gave in my study, my attitude towards, okay, I'm in quarantine, I can't do anything about it. Okay, so what can I do? What are the things that I can do to enjoy myself? And one of the things was enjoying my family. Like, I was able to be around all of my children. All of my children were in our house with us. So we were able to bond a little bit more. So there's different ways to see the situation that you find yourself in. And I guess it's the power of perspective, the power of the perspective that you have, that when you know that you can find something or some way to grow in a situation, or some way that you can pull a good thing out of a situation, how you see it, then it better allows you to go down a more positive path. I didn't say a less bumpy path. You're still going to have your bumps and your ups and downs, but you'll be positive. You have an understanding of where you're trying to get to as you go through the thing that you're going through.
Do you think, as you were speaking to these students in Philadelphia, that you were able to get your point across and really make a difference and help, even if it's one person?
And that's the thing. I would love for everyone. I think last year when we first ran the program in Jacksonville, we reached over 700 kids. So if we just reach one, that will be. I would love to reach 700, right? But if we reach one, and that one individual talks to someone about something that's going on with them, and that individual does not do something, which many, I think, is the uptick in suicide has swung in a bad direction when it comes to teens. if we can help that one individual not do that, to actually talk to somebody and save their lives so that they can live a prosperous and have a prosperous future, that's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
And I'm sure hearing it from you goes a really long way. Hey, I've been through it. I've come out on the other end of this thing. I continue to manage it. I'm sure that really helps. If we can switch gears, Eagles training camp is around the corner. If I were to tell you this time last year there would be a new coach and a new quarterback, probably think I'm a little crazy, right?
No, because we weren't certain. We weren't certain how the season ended, and some of the things that we kept hearing. I didn't know. I didn't necessarily think that it would come to fruition that we would be having a new coach and stuff like that. I have a new quarterback, but you can kind of see the writing on the wall, to be honest with you.
Really? So going back, so you think going into Doug's last season, you saw some things that you were like, I don't know here.
Yeah, and again, this is things that you were hearing, the things that you were seeing displayed on the field, and some of the questionable things that were questionable things that were being done at that time. I think people begin to have that as a thought. Before it wouldn't have even been a thought. But I think that the way that things played out towards the end of the season, it became a thought in people's minds.
You have seen it all in your day, and you went through a coaching change in 1999, Ray Rhodes to Andy Reid. What does it take for that locker room to buy in, and what does it take for a new coach and now Nick Sirianni to be successful in your mind? What made Andy Reid successful in that first season and really, of course, over that decade plus?
I think one of the things about Andy when he first got there, and Andy has changed quite a bit from
Yes.
when he first got there as an Eagle. He has. He was very upfront, and this is what we're doing. This is what we're demanding. These are the practice habits. These are the conditionings that we're going to be practicing in. This is the attire that I want you to have. You can't wear anything outside of that. Like, he was very direct, and this is what we're going to be doing going forward. And the other thing is, after the first initial year, because I think the first year he was just trying to be a tough sheriff, like a new sheriff in town, tough. I'm going to weed out some of the bad individuals and all that stuff. But after that, he still stuck by the fact that this is what I'm doing. These are the players that we want to have. This is the way that we're going to run this thing. And then he began to give us as leaders more of the, I guess, the leeway to lead. And that's a powerful thing. So for a coach to have emotional intelligence, to understand that, no, you're not supposed to be doing everything yourself, but to actually empower the leaders in your locker room to lead the locker room, because the coach will not be in the locker room all the time. So it's important for a coach to not, I guess, not in a like a, hey, I give you permission. No,
Right.
it's not a word or verbiage to be said. It's just the acknowledgement that that's an important factor in any organization, for the leaders in the locker room to lead from the locker room. And so that's another thing that Andy, did early on, and giving us as leaders, those of us who've earned the right to lead, to lead.
Bobby Tower told me a few weeks ago that initially when there was the change that he butted heads with Jim Johnson and some of the defensive guys at first. In your opinion, what does it take to be, successful as far as from the locker room, from the players' point of view, for them to buy in? I mean, do you just have to just buy in, whether maybe you're not 100% on board with the coaching? You just have to, is the key just buying in no matter what?
No, it's not buying in no matter what. You buy into, okay, we're a part of this team together, and we all are wanting to go in this same direction. That's to win a championship. That's the direction that we're all heading in. There's different ways of going about that. But one of the things that I've seen is that, again, talking about that head coach or talking about a position coach and Jim Johnson, in that Bobby said they were going at it a little bit, is the ability for each to give a little bit, right? To trust one another and to give a little bit. And that, when you begin to build that, to trust and to give, that allows you to bond, a stronger bond for later on down the road. And so that's what I guess that's That's one of the things that I saw quite a bit of. Again, when they first came in, Andy and Jim, it, it was tough, right? It was tough. They ran things in a tough fashion, but they began to trickle and taper some of that stuff down because of those less some clashes, yes, but also some conversations. And when you have conversations with one another about how can we both come together to make this a better environment for everybody to work in. Now, obviously, the coach is still going to do what he wants to do when it's all said and done. But it's your hopes as a player that he takes some of the input from those are in the locker room, that are in the heartbeat of what's going on, that they then implement some of the things that is coming from their leaders.
What's your advice to Nick Sirianni as he takes over in this first season?
First of all, be yourself. So whoever it is that you are that help you get this position, be that. Don't try to be anybody else. Don't try to be anybody else. I know he has a plan. I know he has an understanding of what it is he wants to do, but in that, be flexible. So I guess those are the two things.